Good evening. It is May 4th. It's May 4th. Sorry about that. 2022. Episode 68. And some shitty stuff happened in the past week. It's been bugging more than half the population. Then it's much more than it's bugging me. But it's bugging me a lot, so I can only imagine what that means. If you have the ability to have children or care about the rights of people with the ability to have children. I could still hear the birds outside. I guess before going into talking about that, I wanted to cover one or two things before. One is that it's a bit of a lighter subject, sort of I don't want to call it a palate cleanser because I've yet to sully the palate. I hope. Maybe I have. But one of them was to talk about a new sponsor that we have. It's very important. I only do this for the sponsor money. And so I wanted to, give a quick shout out to Greenlights. You can buy the book right now at www.greenlights.com/faux sale. Get 4% off the retail price of the book. But more than that, I have in studio with me this evening. I know this is hard to believe, but I have the Greenlights. See if it'll focus on. I have the Greenlights notebook, the journaling pad. All right. Okay. It's got our boy here. He's got his hand. He's contemplative. He's thinking about journaling. What better if you're gonna journal? Maybe you're not the journaling kind. Maybe you're not contemplative. Maybe you don't think about the events of your life, or maybe you don't process events that way. That's fine. I mean, let's get the price tag off of there. It does come with, this is my favorite thing about journals in general, is if they have this elastic band that allows you to keep it closed. The journals that I use always do. These look quite similar, actually. Strangely, I guess moleskin only looks so many ways. Anyway, let's get a close up of this. Right? There's an oil spot on the top, but look, it's your journal because it's your journey, and that's important, right? It's really important. It's got prompts and a bumper sticker and quotes from the #1 New York Times bestseller, Greenlights. I know I was very excited to open up this journal once I got it at my local Barnes & Noble, to see what are some of these writing prompts, what are some of these things that Matthew McConaughey finds exciting or finds sort of stimulates him or gets his brain moving when it comes to journaling, because it's something that he's done apparently the majority of his life. So, okay. So on the very first page, going forward's a mystery. Looking back, it's a science. Yeah, I'm going to do a Matthew McConaughey voice for this. P.S. Turn this over for a bumper sticker to get you started. Now, maybe some of you are wondering, well, how do I do a Matthew McConaughey voice? And the answer is, you do a George Bush. You do a George Bush voice. When George Bush talks, it's real tight, like he's thinking real hard about something. And you do a George Bush voice. And you gotta kind of squish up your face when you do a George Bush voice, and you just relax it, and you just let it all out like that. So, if you can do like little whistling noises or any kind of weird gestures like that to kind of go along with it, you got yourself a McConaughey right there. J.K. Livin. I guess J.K. Livin is the name of his company. Oh my God. It was a lot for me not to open this book when I got it and look at this stuff beforehand. Check this out. When we see ourselves truly, there's an instant attraction. That's if you're arrogant. Yeah. I'm not gonna. He has a long introduction here. He's been keeping journals for 37 years. It's brought him to elation, evolution, revelation, and revolution. He loves to rhyme. It's like in his soul. It's also occasionally brought me to tears. Some sad, most happy. Yeah. Okay. Gotta learn to separate the signal from the noise. All right. This journal is a place to keep your stories, the people, places, prescribes, poems, prayers, and bumper stickers of your life. Be honest, have fun, ask questions, answer them. Don't be afraid to see your contradictions as part of the twisted truth of paradox. I got a little George Bush in there. Stick in some photos or quotes that turn you on. That reminds me. Oh wait, let me get rid of this thing. Hold on. That reminds me. Was that going this whole time? I hope not. I had a dream. I don't usually remember my dreams. In fact, I rarely remember my dreams. Oh, by the way, going for ginger ale this evening. I hope that no one is offended. I had a dream that I remembered, and in this dream, I made a video, and I edited it carelessly, and I posted it without properly vetting it first. And I realized a couple of days after I edited it or posted it that I was naked in half the video. So it was, I guess, like a variation on the, you have that dream where you're naked in front of class. So I had a dream that I was naked in half the video that I had released. And I'd already released it, already been out for a few days. It was only part of it. It was like, for some reason, I guess I shot different parts of this video at different times, and in one part I had forgotten to wear clothes somehow. So in my dream I actually went back and I watched the video, and I remember thinking, it's funny that we see ourselves truly. There's an instant attraction. I looked pretty good. That's how I could tell it was a dream. I was watching the video back, and there I was without clothes on, and I thought, oh, wow, that's pretty good. Which is not the truth, obviously. But anyway, so this video had been out for a couple days, and then I went and set it to private, and then looked at the comments. And the weird part of the dream was, and the comments were just like, cool vid, audio in the left channel was too loud. Like, there was like totally normal comments. Nobody noticed anything amiss. That was the dream I had a couple nights ago. Maybe I should have journaled it. Maybe I shouldn't have admitted to having that dream live on YouTube. Anyway, scribble, doodle, draw, edit, but don't erase. He's giving you, like, you're not allowed to erase. Find your frequency, investigate, get wise to yourself. Get to know the one person you're stuck with for the rest of your life. You. This is your journal. Your story. Write it. Just keep living, Matthew McConaughey. All right. Okay, so then it's just, a bunch of empty pages on which you can write. There's no lines. Of course there's no lines. He wouldn't want you to, he wouldn't want to constrain you by having the journal be lined. I personally prefer a journal not with lines, but with dots. See, I use the same journals I have for a few years now, at least. I get the ones with dots. You may not believe, I have in a little closet here on a shelf, maybe half a dozen of these exact journals. About half a dozen that are full and about another half a dozen that are still in the boxes. Sometimes you got to go back to go forward. And I don't mean going back to reminisce or chase ghosts. I mean go back to see where you came from, where you've been, how you got here. Okay. Anyway, what do you want to forget? Oh, he's got a poem in here. I feel like I can't go past this without reading his poem. Dirt roads and autobahns. The road less traveled may not be a dirt road for some. It may be the Autobahn. Robert Frost was right. Taking the road less traveled can make all the difference. But that road isn't necessarily the road with the least traffic. It may be the road that we personally have traveled less. The introvert may need to get out of the house, engage with the world, get public. The extrovert may need to stay home and read a book. Sometimes we need to get out there. Sometimes we need to get in there. Some days our road less traveled is a solitary dirt trail. On others, it's the subway on the 7 line. Okay. I mean, actually, I can kind of get that. Like, get out of your comfort zone. I get it. That's not bad. I've never cared much for destinations. The idea of landing is too finite for my imagination and sense of song. Give me a direction in a 16-lane highway with room to swerve and explore along the way. Like jazz. I prefer to see life as a river. That's stupid. Jump before you fall. Okay. All right, so there you go. Ooh, look at, you got a little crazy here with this prompt. Let's go back to this. Got a little crazy with this prompt. Live what you believe. Live the questions first, then what you believe. Slide changes. Then you have your own personal style. It's pretty stylish. Pretty stylish. He put some serifs on the E and the S there. I'm impressed. Outlaw logic. Anyway, okay. So yeah, green lights. Let's put it back up. Right. Get yours today. Get that shit out of your head. Put it down where it belongs. So, everybody knows at this point, I don't know if y'all can hear the bird that's squeaking outside my window. Yeah, I said squeaking. It's a little annoying. Super, super grumpy of me to be annoyed by a bird singing. I shouldn't be annoyed by a bird singing. It is the same bird that wakes me up every morning, or the same bird song that wakes me up every morning. So I have a bit of an excuse. But I don't know if you all hear it. Don't like it. No, sir. All right, let's talk about the Supreme Court. Everybody's talking about it. There's been like the same points are being said over and over again. I can't believe it's such a politicized issue, but I can. Of course I can. Everything is. One point that I don't hear being made that much. I mean, I hear, obviously I am, staunchly pro-choice, and really it seems like all there is to do now, like we can talk about it all we want. Really what we got to do is like start funding local abortion clinics and prepare for what seems to be inevitable, because here's what people seem to think, or what the majority of people seem to think, it seems like, is people seem to think that like someone who worked in the Supreme Court, an intern or a clerk or something like that, saw this, was outraged by it, and leaked it. With the purpose of exposing the plans that the Supreme Court had for when in June or July, when they would actually make this announcement. That seems to be like what I'm kind of hearing is the narrative being spun. I have a few reservations about that narrative. Because I don't know that if you follow like the who benefits, and maybe this is giving too much credit to people knowing like how people react to something, right? But so let's say that the idea is, yes, okay, the mainstream idea is that this was leaked. People are going to get in an uproar about it. There's going to be a huge uprising about it, which there has been, which rightfully so, there should be. But then what's going to come of that? Because Supreme Court justices don't need to give a fuck about what people say, right? They don't need to care about elections, right? So they don't need, the only possible, all they're going to do is if something happens between now and July and something changes, then they're just going to look weak, right? I'm trying to think from the point of view of a Kavanaugh or Comey Barrett, a Gorsuch. This is one of those times when Roberts is going to vote. He votes on the liberal side, but it's a token vote. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change anything. He's trying to preserve the court as impartial, which is ridiculous to think of at this point. But what is the net effect, the knock-on effect of the leak? Does it actually whip people up into a frenzy to affect the midterm elections and thereby swing states blue? Because everybody's seen this, right? Everybody's seen this map of. You can see it at the Center for Reproductive Rights if you haven't. But you can kind of see how this pretty much maps more or less to the same kind of, well, not exactly. Really, like more of these states are red than are red from an electoral perspective. But, I mean, that's a hefty number of states where it would be almost impossible to get an abortion. So just to be clear, in the red states, it would be almost impossible to get an abortion. In the bright red states, it would be nearly impossible to get an abortion. In the yellow states, it would be almost impossible to get an abortion. And in the turquoise states, it would be kind of impossible to get an abortion. That's pretty damning. I mean, that's like if you're in the middle of the Rust Belt there, or the Bible Belt, sorry, not the Rust Belt, Bible Belt, it'd be difficult. You're telling me you're going to go to Florida? You're telling me Florida is going to be like the bastion of moral responsibility and sort of being the spine that doesn't exist? It's going to be Florida? That's not going to happen. Did we forget about... I got to have... Please tell me I have this person here. Yeah. We forget about this guy? Not the guy speaking. The guy looking at the guy speaking. With judgment. And a St. Patrick's Day tie. So what does the leak do? Does it actually make it more likely for Roe v. Wade to be overturned or less likely? Because there's two ways to look at it. There's the way to look at it that, like, okay, yes, it was leaked by somebody who is not as conservative or has pro-choice leanings and wanted to get it out there and wanted people to get an uproar about it. And then there's the opposite, which is, let's put it out there and it's the same reason you fire someone on a Friday, right? You want to like kind of create this buffer of time across which you can withstand. Same thing, we wanted people to wear masks, which we didn't want everyone clogging up the hospitals at once, right? So you want to kind of take that outrage and stretch it out over, 3 or 4 months instead of condensing it all into one gut punch. And if you subscribe to that notion, then the leak may very well have been intentional. And I realize that it's like, why do we care about the leak, right? Like, why does anyone care? I also understand that point of view, right? Like, let's concentrate on the issue at hand. I have no answer for that. We should concentrate on the issue at hand, really. I think there's certainly an argument that everything that a governing body that doesn't need to ever be accountable to its constituents once they're put in office and have the ability to be so sort of arbitrarily put in office and stopped. They have the ability to both arbitrarily be put in office and be blocked from being put into office, depending on how low you're willing to go. And then this kind of speaks to the whole kind of self-hating liberal thing. And here, okay, so I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books over and over again. Like, I have that problem where I should read more books instead of just rereading books. But I'm currently rereading Death of the Liberal Class. And this book was written 15 years ago, and during the Obama administration, 13 years ago, something like that. And it's basically like the disenfranchised liberals who, the leftists who have lost faith, the progressives who have lost faith in the actual liberal movement, the lack of liberal movement, where we have generally, it seems like conservatives who are more than willing to stoop to whatever depths they need to stoop to in order to push through their ideas and their policies. But we have a liberal class that won't, because of some sense of decorum. They've essentially neutered themselves and become wishy-washy, I guess would be the way to describe them. And there's a lot of anger from people who endorse leftist policies, but who are angry at Democrats in general for the way they respond in cases like this. And Supreme Court justices are a perfect example, where we had Merrick Garland blocked at the seeming whim of the turtle, Mitch McConnell. And then Trump turned right around and pushed Kavanaugh and Comey Barrett through, and Gorsuch too. Well, Gorsuch was going to happen, I think, either way. But so we have like a super conservative leaning court, regardless, for the who knows for how long. So the only thing that like they stand to lose is face if one of them changes their vote, because it's going to look like they bent to the will of the people, which I don't really know why that's such a bad thing since they're supposed to serve the people. And just like beyond that, it's just gross to me. It's like I was physically repelled, and I felt like this just kind of like I could feel this sneer, like I was just getting this sneer watching the confirmation hearings, particularly Gorsuch and Comey Barrett. Their confirmation hearings were, they said they considered Roe v. Wade as settled law. And that was pretty fucking, I mean, they lied, right? They just lied. Which, at this point, should we be surprised? But the thing is, like, at what point do the gloves just come off? So, always, the left is always preaching moderation. And that's why this made me really ridiculously upset. Let's see this.
What, now you're complaining?
Oh.
With all the punching and the joking and the complaining? The point is...
What? Now, actually, I started that video, I didn't realize that video started a little bit early. That's Steven Crowder, who sucks, by the way. We all know Steven Crowder sucks. So that's Steven Crowder doing like a Jewish accent or something, making fun of Jewish people, which, like, doing accents and making fun of people of color in different races and different creeds, that's just like de rigueur with his show now. It just happens all the time. It wasn't even the point of why I was playing that. I just realized that I had not cut the first few seconds out. But that's disgusting, just right there.
What, now you're complaining?
Oh.
With all the punching and the joking and the complaining? The point is, don't assault comedians. Don't assault people who happen to be pro-life and don't want babies being killed, whether you think it's a life or not. How about and it's all coming from one side. That's why they want to make January 6th such a big deal, and it wasn't anywhere near as violent as you saw, not only as violent as just last night, and it's only going to get worse. So everyone else out there, by the way, I'm not calling you to violent. Keep your head on a swivel.
Like, how could he say that with a straight face? I don't get it. I don't get it. How could he? I mean, it's not even implying. He's saying Dave Chappelle getting tackled by someone in the crowd was not as violent as January 6th, lest we forget what that looked like. Yes, people breaking into the Capitol building, Capitol Police with guns pointed, shooting and killing someone. I think shooting and killing someone is more violent than running at someone to tackle them. I don't get it. I really don't. Like, it's beyond me. Like, I wish that I feel like I've lost the ability to like, why are we even bothering trying to use rational thought to deal with these issues? Like, what's the point? Like, if you're arguing with somebody who's not going to, honestly, it's kind of like the way, smaller countries sometimes when they deal with the U.S., they don't have the wherewithal, or let's say they don't have the resources to meet us on the battleground with these Geneva Convention rules that we have set up. Rules that are set up much like, the Founding Fathers set up the rules of the United States to benefit the people who make the rules, right? So if you want to go to war, here are the things that, you can go to war, but adhere to like these principles. And if you don't adhere to these principles, you will be reviled by the global community and sanctions will come, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have, if you're getting your ass beat by the school ground bully, you go for the nuts. You don't be like, oh, well, you're not supposed to go for the nuts. Let me get up and take another punch from this guy who weighs 3 times more than I do. He's actually like 2 years older than I am, and I don't know why he's still in this class, but he's beating the crap out of me. And yeah, I could hurt him. I could hurt him if I kicked him in the nuts. But playground rules are you're not supposed to kick anyone in the nuts. That's not honorable. Let me stand up and get punched in the face again. And that's what it feels like, right? Like so we're getting punched in the face over and over. And the liberal class, the liberal class is to some extent complicit in saying, no, don't kick in the nuts. Don't do that. No. That's not right. When we really just should be way past that point. By now, I would think. I'm starting to feel it. And I consider, like, I guess I ebb and flow. When Trump was in office, I felt very reactionary, but I haven't even been to the Supreme Court. I was going to go Tuesday night or Monday night. I haven't even been yet. If I don't go this weekend, then I am a hypocrite. That's to make sure that I'm accountable. What does protesting do? I don't know. I mean, is protesting going to be? I mean, there's direct evidence that protesting does have an effect, right? But it depends how. It's kind of luck of the draw on if it's going to be effective or not. I mean, there was a self-immolation just like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. There was a self-immolation on the White House lawn a few years ago, and didn't do anything. So I don't know, but that's, I guess, if we're keeping our eyes on the ball here, we probably need to accept that we need to flip as many states as possible in the midterms so that we have some kind of power when it comes to supporting the states to provide legal abortion, and support and fund those local, state level clinics. Because I don't know what's protesting going to do. I mean, it's an outrage vent that in the end is like so much sound and fury, right? But I also don't feel like I don't feel like I can not do it either. So it's sort of like, well, you got to do it. Nothing's really going to come of it. If you are going to do it, there's it's easy to find on Instagram or Twitter, sort of things you should do in case you get arrested or tear gassed. Tear gassing, man. Oh my God. I was tear gassed once, and I didn't even know I was tear gassed. I'm almost certain it was tear gas. And it was so scary because I just suddenly couldn't breathe. Suddenly could not breathe. Did not see the tear gas because it was in a dark, enclosed space. And just couldn't breathe. My breath started hitching every time I would try and breathe in. It was so psychologically horrifying. I guess I didn't realize that everyone around me was also experiencing the same thing. My first thought, I always think I'm like just about to die. So my first thought was, oh God, this is it. Something's going wrong just with me. And then I was able to notice, oh no, look, we're all going to die. But we managed to, everyone managed to get out of the room. It wasn't even a protest. But I didn't know that I was being tear gassed. So I'd imagine if you're being tear gassed, maybe it's still going to be fucking horrifying. But at least you realize like there's a reason that your body is doing this. But there's a whole bunch of places you can go to kind of see, like, carry some water in a rag, have your biometrics on your phone turned off, Stuff like that. Just in case. Because you never know. A lot of fun. All right, I'm gonna look at chat. I've been not looking at chat because I wanted to just kind of barrel through a bunch of stuff at first. But now I'm going to look at chat. Going all the way back. Hi, Katerina, Pivy, Amy, Jeff. Oh, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all teachers only in the United States. If you're not in the United States, you don't get to celebrate National Teacher Appreciation Week. Oh, that's cool. Hi, Colorful Dreams, by the way. Q. Whoops. No. The answer to that was no. I mean, I didn't see it. The answer probably still would have been no. Like, I don't know how I could have talked about a writing contest first. I just don't think I could have done it. Hey, KJ, Jeff. Oh, it's not really clean shaven anymore, and it's coming back. I just wanted a break for a moment. But thank you. LQ, hi, how are you doing? Yeah, don't want. So the sentiment is not universal. I will take it. That's all right. Hey, Grace, how are you doing? I paid, I'm guessing you're talking about the Screenlights book. Oh, this can't be right. I don't remember what I paid for it, but apparently $20, but I don't imagine that that's correct. I don't think that's right. It's probably like $7 or something. Ramona, hey, how are you doing? Selkie, hey, I have not seen you for a while. It's good to see you. It's kind of fun. I mean, George W. Bush has sort of gotten a pass when he gets evaluated in light of Trump's dumpster fire. He doesn't deserve that pass. Oh, people don't like the fresh shaven face. I knew it. The beard I am defined by my beard. It's coming back. It's coming back. That's why I like dots, because dots give you the lines if you need them, but if you don't need them, you don't need them. And I like doing geometric patterns. Hey, Calmcast, don't think I've ever seen you before, but welcome. Q, stop with the super chats. Please. We will talk about the writing contest. I realize I made a promise, and I will fulfill the promise. Hi, Kiran, how are you doing? I will fulfill the promise, but it's hard for me to talk about a writing contest when I want to talk about something else, you know? Ansel, I don't know you, but hi. That PFP reminds me of Chris Mars's art. Chris Mars is an amazing sort of like surrealistic painter who came to my attention because he did the cover for A Conspiracy Against the Human Race. And I was so taken with that cover. I know I have one of his, let's see. I know I have it here. Where is it? Where the heck did it go? Stay with me. Stay with me. Don't you die on me. Here. Look at this. Oh my God, that's fucking beautiful. Here. This is his style, right? So he does like, I mean, is it surreal? I don't even know how to describe it. Like, things are out of proportion. Some parts are incredibly realistic. Everything looks like it's just like waterlogged, or just like the convergence of dying and death triggering like fears, and at the same time it's like those eyes are like ridiculously beautiful. I love their stuff. Chris Mars, if you're into that kind of art, or wherever my Conspiracy Against the Human Race is at the moment. I don't know where it is, but it's not at hand, so I'm not going to go searching for it. Very similar. Like you immediately recognize his art or their art. It's very, very similar. Which I'm not saying like all their stuff looks the same. I'm just saying recognizable style. You can pick it out. I want to leave that up there. Like that is just. I can just stare at that. It's great. Great. Anyhow. Okay, we're still back in the Matthew McConaughey comments. Let me get it. So nothing's happened yet. Colorful. Nothing has happened yet. This was a leak of a brief of a majority report that is going around the Supreme Court. But from my understanding of it anyway, it's all over bar the shouting. Which, I mean, it's as long as I've been alive, Roe v. Wade has been, considered a settled matter. It was very scary. Exactly, Grace. This was sort of what I was. Yeah, you probably said this before I said it. I don't know. I shouldn't go so far back in the comments, should I? I got that map straight from the Center for Reproductive Rights, but maybe. Boy. Boy. And yes, there are going to be a lot of planes. You will hear a lot of planes flying over tonight. Yeah, there's also these like trap laws that people are talking about, where basically like if you live in one state and it's able to be proved that you had an abortion by going to another state where abortion was legal, but you're a resident of a state where it's not, that you can still be tried, that is just fucking ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Yeah. And I've been seeing a lot of this too, right? Like if you have period tracker apps, any kind of apps, the fertility apps or whatever. There's a particular place called SafeGraph. SafeGraph, I think I want to say it's called SafeGraph. That is one of the data brokers, one of the major data brokers who are collecting particularly this type of data. So I would be afraid of it. I don't think it's going too far to say that in this case it's probably okay to be a little bit conspiratorially minded. A little bit. Yeah, and that's one of the ironies, right, about Roe v. Wade is it's considered a super precedent, right? And it got overturned, and now it's overturnal will be considered a precedent on itself. I mean, the law, right, everybody, or people who know anything at all about law knows that it's built on a very shaky foundation of its own foundations. It's very much like turtles all the way down. Which makes any move like this more frightening even than it would be in a vacuum. Yeah, right on, Grace. Well, I would like to talk about this. Butterfly Composer. I think, do you know where to email? You know, I haven't brought him up at all. Let me check here. I always feel like under such... I always feel like I'm under such a time constraint. Gotta quick, do this quick. People are gonna get bored. Let me get my link. I think I might actually have a new link now. But yeah, Butterfly Composer, please send into, what is it, a dead symbol at gmail.com. There are some people who want to talk about this, which I want to talk about, but I also want to talk about it also with people who maybe I haven't spoken to recently. Where the heck is my email overlay? I've cluttered it. Gotta remember that. Oh my God, I don't have the watermark logo up. What have I done? I've made a horrible, horrible error. My gosh. Feels so much better. Scared the hell out of me. People are going to be able to poach this.
Like, I don't know if that thing that they just did with the COVID is, like, panned out or not. But if it did, that's, like, somebody should probably be looking into that.
Lest we forget. Do people really need my email overlay? It's pretty. Here it is. A dead symbol at Gmail. Yeah, right. That is one of the things one of the worst things about this is that people who, with means, will still be able to get abortions. Ooh, I can tell. I'm at the point now in the comments where I was playing the Steven Crowder clip. Oh shit. This is your Q. You're expressing the very frustration. You're expressing the very same frustration that I think a lot of people have with bog standard Democrats. And by bog standard Democrats, I mean really even progressive Democrats, like non-radical leftists. And this turns a lot of people away from leftism in general. You had like an inverse. Oh my gosh, who's the dude that Dick Van Patten, Dick Van Dyke, Dick Van Patten. I'm looking at the chat now. All right, so let's bring someone on. I don't know. Maybe you all know this person. I think you do. From if you don't know them from chat or know them from their YouTube channel, I don't know if I've ever spoken to them like directly. But I've watched their stuff, and they were around like a long time ago when I first started making videos. I would watch his stuff. So if you all will give a warm Beyond the Double Red Doors welcome to Derek Michael.
Hello, Scott. It's been a long time since I've wanted to talk to you.
So have we talked before?
Only in private messenger.
Oh, okay.
Never
Okay. So I
this.
wanted to be sure that I didn't say that we hadn't talked before, and then you're like, no, we talked in 2014. You're an asshole for not remembering.
Oh, like, dude, I don't think I even knew who you were until you did the video with Paul.
Oh, right.
You guys did a collaboration. I don't know what year that was. That was so long ago, but yeah, I've been doing videos since 2013.
That's right. So you were doing ASMR videos.
Yeah.
But other videos as well, like other kinds of videos as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah. I started just doing vlogs. A guy actually dared me to start making videos, and actually refused to talk to me until I did. He also made videos originally, and that's how I got started. It was crazy.
You were strong-armed into making videos.
Yeah. This guy was super fucking weird, man.
Now,
I don't talk to him anymore, obviously, but yeah, I didn't really know much about YouTube and everything back then. So I found him, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool, making vlogs and videos, and yeah, that's how I got into it. It was wild.
So what's the name of your channel? If like people wanted to go check it out, what is that? What's it actually called, or how would they find it?
It's not. I have a different channel now. It's the same name, but I had to get rid of the old one. I'm not going to get into why, but it's Derek Michael. That's it.
So just Derek Michael.
Yeah.
Okay. So you knew.
I still make videos. So
but you knew Paul, right? Too, or did you have? I don't know.
I met him.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I met him on a couple occasions actually.
Yeah.
We went on a camping trip actually in the Appalachians once. That was fun.
Nice guy.
Interesting guy.
Yeah.
To say the least. Yeah, I miss him. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but
yeah. He won't talk to me anymore.
He won't talk to me. He just kind of in early 2018, I was off in Europe, and that was the last time I talked to him. When I was there, I was telling him what I was doing or whatever, and after that, all of a sudden, just drop of a hat. It was crazy.
Yeah, I know he hated like the sort of, or he had a lot of disdain for sort of the ASMR community, right? Because of how toxic it could be. But I had my own issues with him, but whatever. move on from that. Let's
Me too. Believe me.
let's talk about the Supreme
Oh yeah.
Court.
Oh yeah. I wish this wasn't the topic. The first time I would talk with you, this is the topic we were going to have to talk about, but here we are. Um, yeah. I don't know what you. I didn't hear the first part of your live chat tonight. I was on a walk, so I'm not sure what you said exactly about it, if much at all. But yeah, when I heard about the decision the other night, it was gut wrenching. Not surprised at all,
You weren't
but
surprised? See, I was very surprised.
no. With this renegade Supreme Court, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So maybe it was the like I know I know a lot of people did this. Like I went back into like my Facebook posts and I found the one from like 2016 that I had made. And a lot of people had made like a post like this that was like, now Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. You know, watch this space, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe like enough time went by that I started to think, okay, well, maybe I was overreacting. Like, so when I heard about it, maybe it was just because it was so precipitous and it was just like a Monday night and like not much was going on. So maybe it was just the circumstances under which I found out about it. But
The first thing, yeah, go ahead.
no, it just hit me. It had an effect on me. Like it had a sort of physical effect on me. And I was not expecting it. I certainly wasn't expecting it on Monday night.
No. What I was going to say is the first thing I thought about when Trump won in 2016 that night was Supreme Court. First thing. Because
Right.
I saw, because it was 4-4, and I was like, if Clinton won and maybe even got the Senate, we could have a 5-4 liberal majority for the first time since 1969. That close. The courts have been a big priority for me for years, and I was dashed. It was so painful for that reason, because I was like, we were that close. 50 years of a conservative-minded Supreme Court, and it was all down the drain.
Could have
And
been ended. And
yeah.
people don't think a lot about, well, I don't want to speak for people, but it seems like that people don't necessarily think about how many, like a president's typical last 90 days or last year in office, they'll be appointing state level judges like crazy, right? Like it seems to be, obviously they don't have quite the effect that a Supreme Court justice can have. But at the state level, they're stacking the deck all the time, and it just goes by like they don't really say much about it. But it seems like a large part of any given president's legacy is how many conservative and or liberal judges did you stack on various courts in various states? And how is that going to help us like 5 years from now or a year from now or 50 years from now, right?
Yeah. It's a long play.
Yeah. So what do you think about, like, what do you even think about like the existence of a body with the power of the Supreme Court having no sort of accountability once a judge is in office?
That's why it's best to have probably 18-year term limits. That's my opinion. And we need to expand. We need to have more. So you don't have only 9 people, only 9. And it's basically on the whim of a death or the whim of a retirement. And it just is such a wild swing. And I think we need more voices too. You know, having only 9, I mean, I think we should have, I mean, you look at the other court of appeals, like the Ninth Circuit out in California in the West, they have 29. 29! The Supreme Court has 9 of the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States only has 9. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
with such, obviously I'm stating the obvious here, but what you just said, right, was a body with so much power that their entire makeup and how they rule can be changed by something as small as a single embolism, right, in the leg of an 85-year-old justice or what have you, right? It doesn't seem like
Ginsburg.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen like Ruth Bader Ginsburg getting some hate for not stepping down earlier.
Correct.
which I don't know
Me
that I
too. For me
agree
too.
with that, right? But it is interesting that it's just like, man, that it's a lot to put on. It's what you just said, right? Like, no, in no circumstance should there be a body whose entire makeup could be just a flip of a coin. Somebody gets hit walking across the street, whatever it is, right? There should not. There should be something, even if it's maybe we have understudies, something like that, right? Like where there's, I understand, like, no, it's got to be expanding the court. We got to expand the court, and I think term limits. Actually, did you pull 18 years from somewhere?
I've just seen it numerous times over the years. I don't know why 18. It's arbitrary, like, everything in this world, but yeah, I was like, okay, well, that's good enough. I mean, I think 18 is pretty good. I think anyone that's serving on the Supreme Court longer than 25 years, I mean, I think that's ridiculous. I think 18 is perfectly rational.
Because I understand, like, the idea of if you have, I mean, we have presidents who don't want to plant trees, right? Because they're only going to be around for a certain amount of time. And they, especially during their first term, want to make sure that they do stuff that have enough concrete returns that they can then run on that stuff for their second term.
Yeah.
So they're generally not really looking out for their own legacy until the second part of their second term, at which point, they're kind of off the leash, right? And that kind of a short-term limit, while it obviously has a lot of benefits, right, and prevents presidents from having too much power, it also means that they focus on, like, maybe certain things that could be considered short-sighted, or things that give short-term returns at the expense of long-term returns. Whereas, so the reason I say that is because the amount of time you mentioned being more than, like 16 years or something like that seems like a pretty good sort of,
Yep.
I guess, line between,
so
like,
too.
I mean, we have people in Congress who've been serving for 40 years, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of, and yes,
Yeah.
they're up for re-election every year or every 4 years or whatever it is for Congress versus House representatives. But
Mhm.
there is also, like, a lot of that is, unless you really fuck up, or unless, like, you really fall out of favor with a president, or unless something like this happens, if you're like a lifelong congressperson, it's unlikely you're going to get unseated, right? Generally. Just don't screw up
Right.
too much. I don't know what's going to happen to Susan Collins now, but maybe she'll
What
have
do
to
you
pay
mean?
the price for, although, I mean, she's a Democrat, so. And then it sucks that we have to,
Well,
like, kind of,
she is a Republican, but
oh wait, did I say, what did I say? I said Susan
Susan
Collins is a
Collins.
Democrat?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoops.
I was like, oh, what? I wish, but no.
But so then maybe she will have to pay the price. Then it was, I remember I read something that she wrote or that she said today or within the past couple of days where she was talking about how she felt deceived by, I think it was Kavanaugh in particular. So, but there's no price for Kavanaugh to pay, right? Like, there's nothing happens to him. And yeah, it just seems like a gross miscarriage of justice.
Correct.
So yeah. So what do we do now?
Ooh. If it comes to pass that opinion, honestly, I don't know what could be threatened next. Is the biggest thing that enters my mind. I wrote in chat earlier the same rationale that Alito said, that if it's not explicitly written in the Constitution or right, it has to be rooted in American tradition, throughout history. And you can say the same thing that he said about abortion, about interracial marriage, same-sex marriage, sodomy. You know what I mean? Right of privacy. Griswold v. Connecticut. I don't know how well versed you are on Supreme Court cases, but
No, not that
yeah,
one. No.
Griswold v. Connecticut. That's really important. That's contraceptive. That's privacy of the home. Very important.
So
It's been a big target by the right for a long time.
The way that Alito phrased this particular brief, right? I guess the scuttlebutt that I've been hearing is that what's probably going to happen is the one that comes out will have tempered language or less incendiary language, right? Less
I would
threatening.
hope.
But regardless, I mean, does it really matter, like, what the language is? if it establishes a particular precedent and then is used to build, that precedent is then built upon to infringe on these other rights, it doesn't really matter what the words were that the brief used were.
If he has 5, yeah. It just depends. If Roberts can get somebody else to his side, he could neuter it, Roe basically, but still leave like, okay, well, you can't ban abortions beyond 16 or something like that, but or 6 or something like that. But a Roe is basically neutered compared to what it used to be.
So this is where, like, I don't think Roberts wants someone else. I think Roberts is purposefully voting in the minority to preserve the illusion of impartiality.
Yeah.
And if his
he's
vote
not an
were
abortion right conservative, but he also cares about, to some extent, the legitimacy of the court.
right, but that's what I'm saying is like
he doesn't want to outright ban it.
if his vote made a difference, then he would vote to ban Roe v. Wade or to repeal Roe v. Wade. Like that.
He's uncomfortable with how far they want to go, though. Right now, with those 5, that's the thing. He's uncomfortable with it going that far. So
see, I guess I see Roberts as just like being the Chief Justice. All he cares about is the illusion of propriety of the court. So he will vote whenever his vote doesn't make a difference. He will often vote liberal, essentially, right? Because his vote doesn't make a difference. And then it's like, look at how close this was. Look at how impartial we are, right? But his vote wouldn't have changed anything, regardless of which side he voted on. And if there ever was a situation where he was tested, I feel like that illusion would just kind of shatter, right? Like he would just sort of actually join the other side and use whatever political capital he had garnered by voting liberal for these issues where it didn't make a difference, right? That he would actually use that goodwill to be like, no, look, see, I voted against this and this year and against this and this year. So you can't say that I'm not impartial. I'm very impartial. But when it matters, does he step up to the plate, right?
He had, like, before Ginsburg died, he was the deciding vote. He was the middle ground. And like on Bostock from 2 years ago, that granted the protection of LGBT people from getting fired, he joined the majority, but Gorsuch had already joined the majority itself. And I think he joined maybe that majority, so Gorsuch would write it and not a liberal. I'm assuming. I don't know. But he also, he helped to preserve the ACA in 2012 too. So, I mean, there are times when he has voted with the liberals, especially before Ginsburg died, when he was the deciding vote. Now his vote doesn't matter. Now.
Okay, but so he does. So this is probably something where I just need to look into it more because I was not aware of that. Like it just seems like lately, certainly like all the times where there's been sort of a big brouhaha made of his vote. And it just seemed to me like, well, what does it matter? Like, of course he can vote whatever he wants. It doesn't change the decision.
Before Ginsburg died, it mattered. He was the deciding vote because you have 4 liberals, 4 conservatives, and he was in the middle. So,
and he voted liberal on many occasions.
Occasionally, yeah.
For the ACA, he voted
yes.
liberal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. Yep.
I believe you. I just that throws a wrench in my...
The ACA wouldn't exist right now if he wouldn't have voted for it.
Well,
and he originally did vote against it, but he changed his mind. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, see, I didn't follow this closely enough to be able to speak with any kind of competence.
I thought maybe because you're in DC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you seem like really politically in tune, so I thought maybe you knew all this.
Well, not Supreme Court stuff, not really. I mean, there are some areas of politics that I follow pretty closely, but yeah, and the further back you go, the less I'm gonna know.
Well, yeah, the thing is, I have a bit of an advantage because I'm a history major too. So, and I've been really interested in presidential history and whatnot throughout my life. So, and obviously the courts have been really important to me, really since the ACA. That's when I've found like how important the courts really were, and I've been just really focused on the courts ever since then.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to be focusing on them now.
I would hope so, but too little, too late.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, it sucks. How are you doing otherwise?
How am I doing otherwise?
It got very dark in your room, by the way. It was brighter in your room a little while ago, and now it's very dark.
The sun is setting.
Oh, okay.
I didn't turn the lights on yet, but yep. Yeah, I'm doing well. Otherwise, I'm still making videos whenever I get the itch, and that's always fun. Yeah, I still enjoy it. Still really enjoy making them. It's never been about the money for me.
Are they
Never been
mostly
about
ASMR videos?
No. I couldn't keep doing that. It just wasn't fulfilling for me. It was too limiting. To be honest, videos are emotional expression for me. That's why I started doing them in the first place. Creative outlet, emotional expression. That's it. It's never been about the money. It's never been about the fame. I could have continued doing ASMR videos and could have gotten more views and whatnot, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't get excited about doing it.
I'm running into that same problem.
Is that why you haven't made a lot in recent times? Or
Yeah.
I watch out for your stuff all the time. I mean, I look to see if you made anything new. And
Yeah, no, it's very hard for me to get inspired. Yeah, and if I'm not inspired to do something, then I just generally won't do it, right? So it just kind of sits there, and then a month goes by, and then I look and I go, oh shit, it's been a month. I better do something.
Yeah.
A month goes by real quick.
Yeah. Well, let me turn on a light here, but yeah. What was I gonna say? But your videos are so like technically complicated, like compared to mine. I just literally just turn the camera on to start talking or rambling or whatever, for the most part. I mean, that takes a lot more effort to do, and it takes a lot of like bandwidth to do those kind of videos, right? I would assume.
I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but I mean, I have stuff set up in such a way that it's really not that difficult for me to do. I mean, I could literally just record from these same cameras that I live stream on,
Yeah.
and I could, do like, live switching or whatever, and make it seem like I'd put more effort into it than I actually did. But it really just comes down to like if I'm not into doing something, I just won't do it. I can't get myself to do it. And I just cannot. It's very difficult for me to imagine. I hate to say this, but very difficult for me to imagine like fluttering my fingers or crinkling something in front of a microphone for an hour without really saying much. Right? I just can't. I can't imagine.
See, that's the problem I've had with Paul, for example, because I feel like he can do a lot more than ASMR. I really do. I even told him that many times, and I feel like you could too. I mean, you could really expand yourself beyond ASMR. You know what I mean? I think you can do more.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate it. When Paul and I would get together, we would try and do like more elaborate stuff.
Yeah.
I think he would get discouraged, and I was discouraged too, because like he'd do a video in his garage, and it would get 5 or 6 times as many views as the video that it took us 2 weekends to make, right? And it's his job. Like it was never my job. So I could see where he would be a little more sensitive to like, well, no, I got to be moving the needle here, and when it comes to the bottom line. So I kind of get that, but I do, and I know that he has tried to do like podcasts and stuff in the past, but I think what happens is people don't watch him very much, or by anyone else's standards, he'll get like 15 or 30,000 views on one of those videos, and that's great, but by his standards, it's not, right? So I even think, like I guess here's how much in spite of everything with him, I still watch his videos from time to time. Like I basically rotate through people, and I will watch someone for a few weeks and then switch and watch someone else for a few weeks. And it looked like he had done that recently. Like he had recently had a bunch of podcast episodes where he just kind of talked about stuff. And you could just see the views were just like very, very low for those. And then he'd just do like here's a pair, and then there'd be, hundreds of thousands of views. I'm sure that's frustrating for him as well. I'm sure that he wishes that like people were like, hey, don't you want to like, do something? But that's ASMR, right? You don't really want something engaging necessarily. You want something that shuts your brain off.
I know. That's why I was like, why don't you try to make another channel though? And occasionally you can try something new, something different. Because he's always like, oh, I want to be, I wish I could be a stand-up. I could, do this and that. It's like, well, Paul, you can make another channel and try something new. You know what I mean? Expand your artistic liberty. I don't know. I think he's just kind of on autopilot at this point,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Huh.
But that's all right.
Oh, yeah. Who knows?
I know I'm a little just this has been percolating for a long time in my mind. I haven't done one of these live streams in a long time, so sorry if I'm kind of going off on a
Oh, no.
tangent.
Yeah, really, that's the more dead air you can fill, the better.
Yeah, but I think one of his videos that he did recently that wasn't ASMR, it was like a blooper video. I don't know if you saw that. I was like, that's fucking brilliant. I love that. That was great. It was just a few seconds too, and it was fucking great.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, I thought it was great myself, but I don't know. I'm kind of bored with ASMR videos anyway too, so maybe that's part of it.
I mean, I like
I've been at it too long.
anything that can kind of turn it on its head. I enjoy that, and I've seen
Yeah,
him do that several times in the past. Um,
yeah.
but I mean, I guess you can only get so many ideas, right? The well is not infinite, I suppose.
I have been amazed by him being able to do that week after week. It's
Yeah.
like I can't even do the videos I do week after week for how long. I mean, I try, but every day I try to make a video during the week during my break. But I mean, it's just so hard to get up for it every week.
There is a lot
Some
of,
people have.
he does have a lot of dedication, which I admire quite a bit. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
But that's yeah. So I wish you could maybe get back to maybe if you try something beyond ASMR, maybe you might cause that artistic spark again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do stuff like that that doesn't strictly fall within the realm of ASMR, or do stuff where it's like I do it in an ASMR style, but it's not actually ASMR. But again, like it's just hard. Like coming up with the ideas is hard, and then like the execution is not as easy as I'd like it to be. But then there's just a part of me that's just like, what the fuck, man? If I'm not gonna do anything, I might as well just try. Trying anything is better than trying nothing, right? So. Yeah. Well, but and that was one of the reasons that I made this channel, right? It was because I was doing live streams on the Phoenician Sailor channel, and every time I would do one of these, I would lose a couple hundred subscribers. Like it was literally like clockwork. Every time I do a live stream on that channel, I lose a couple hundred subscribers because I remind people that they're subscribed to me, or they think like I'm going like all live now or something. I don't know what it is, but every time I would do it, that would happen like clockwork. So
they're
yeah,
offended that you're not whispering to into their sweet ear.
yes, or they thought that I was talking about politics, right? Which I mean, often I was, but or philosophy or whatever, which often I was, but whatever. Like, you got to do what resonates with you. You can't just kind of. Well, I guess you can if it's your job, right? But I didn't never wanted this to be my job.
See, that's me too. That's me too. So there's a certain amount of freedom you can have. I can talk about sex. I can talk about anything I want. I can do whatever I want, just about. And that's a freedom that I just didn't have with ASMR, and I just couldn't do it. I wasn't. It just didn't excite me. It didn't do anything for me, like emotionally or creatively. So that's why I couldn't continue doing it. Now I did. What does excite me? Sometimes doing ASMR videos, doing parody videos, making fun of it, something like that, which I've done. But people get pissed about that.
You've done parody videos of ASMR? How dare you? How dare you?
Oh yeah.
ASMR is sacrosanct and will not take being made fun of.
People are really serious about it. I remember when we first started and when ASMR first started, and people were like, "Oh, it's not sexual. How dare you say that it's sexual?" Now, like how many channels now are like devoted to like role playing, sexual role plays and whatnot? Like porn stars doing ASMR videos.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that's maybe more of a Twitch thing, but yeah, it definitely seems to be bleeding over and like causing some issues for ASMR artists who do things that could fall on either side, right? Like it's content more difficult to moderate, I guess. I don't really know about that either, but anyway, okay. So let me. I have Butterfly Composer in the waiting room as well.
Oh,
So I was gonna bring him on to talk some more about the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, Q. I have to apologize to Q for talking so much about this.
by the way, I want to say last week was great with her, or him, right? Yeah.
Them, I think
Because
them.
you're giving a voice to somebody a group that's marginalized that needs to be heard, and I thought that was really fantastic. I love that.
Well, that's cool. Q has been like is more essential to the operations of what goes on here than I am. So
Really?
yeah, I feel like it's pretty much what Q says goes, except in this instance where we're talking about Supreme Court stuff and not the writing extravaganza stuff. But okay, so I'm gonna bring on Butterfly Composer, and everyone should go to Derek Michael's channel, which is called just Derek Michael, right? Derek Michael.
Too kind.
And it was good talking to you, and let's not have this be the last time.
I definitely would love to talk again. No doubt about it.
Cool. All right, thanks, Derek.
Yep. See you later, man.
All right, bye. All right, and now from across the pond, I think. Across the pond? Can you nod or shake your head no? I think you're from across the pond. Okay, yes, from across the pond. To give us the United Kingdom point of view on the American Supreme Court, Butterfly Composer, who I have spoken to before on this channel. I recall it quite well. But I don't remember what I call you. Do I just call you Butterfly Composer?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. How are you doing, Butterfly Composer? It must be very late where you are.
I'm okay. We work late anyway, in the work that I can't talk about.
Can you talk about it a little bit? Like, can you hint at it?
Moved on to legal work now, so it's 2:00 in the morning.
No, jeez.
So you can make your own assumptions about what I'm doing.
Legal work at 2:00 in the morning. Can you give people like? So I remember it's been a while. It's been, I want to say, like better part of a year since we've spoken.
I don't think I've been on the streams for a while because been.
You're
working.
doing important secret stuff. That you, but could
most
you maybe?
Most of it's just confidential rather than secret. Some of it's secret.
What is the hierarchy of secrecy in the UK? In America, it's like top secret. I forget what the clearance levels are, but top secret is actually not all that secret.
Top secret tends to just be you're not allowed to publish because it's embarrassing, I think, and then it goes up from there.
Yeah.
Anything the US has in terms of intelligence and legal frameworks, they probably stole or copied from us. So, it's probably similar.
How dare you, sir? So, but could you give people your CV a bit? So you're a litigator, right? Or let me not embarrass myself guessing, trying to remember. Whatever you can say, obviously, about what your degree is or anything like that.
Well, previously I was doing criminal law or studying English and Welsh law, which is what people were hearing about the last time I was on, because I was in Liverpool with that human rights case. That's only just finished, by the way.
Wow.
Because obviously it was in the middle of COVID, so everything was basically done. But he did get asylum, and he did get an apology eventually.
So this was, can you remind me a little bit? Like someone had come over there and was going to get sent, go ahead.
The Vietnamese man who was human trafficked to Liverpool and then was enslaved in the drug trade or the drug farming trade in Liverpool.
This is coming back to me now. Oh my God.
Yes, you remember. He got raided. He was put in prison because he was growing drugs. And then, whilst in prison, requested asylum, got out of prison, disappeared, was re-trafficked and recaptured, put back in the drug farm, escaped, and then came to us.
And what was the result again? You said so. This person was granted asylum and freed.
Yes, because obviously, if he was enslaved during the time, then it wasn't really his fault.
Right.
So he was essentially he was wrongfully imprisoned for 18 months. Yeah.
Did he get any kind of compensation for that?
That's another legal matter.
So that would be like the equivalent of a civil, something that.
Yeah, that's civil litigation now. Probably, I can only assume so. At the moment, probably yes, and he probably would settle out of court because the Home Office is busy trying to move all of our refugees to Rwanda in this very strange legal case. Essentially, they're trying to move all asylum seekers to a different country in Africa. It's a complicated issue.
Is that like sort of a stepping stone to, like if they're not in?
They're basically trying to. So you know how there's like asylum seeker camps. You make it to a country and then you're in limbo for a while.
Right.
They're trying to move the limbo to another country.
But doesn't that, in a way, like weaken the case of, at least from a perceptual point of view, where like sort of if you're in the UK and you're like, I'm here and I'm in limbo awaiting asylum, that's different than saying I'm in Rwanda, I'm awaiting asylum in the UK.
Yep.
It's like once removed, right? So it kind of makes it seem like it would make getting asylum.
That seems to be the point. Why Rwanda? Because it's so good with human rights cases and immigrants and refugees, and has such a good relation with the UK government. That's why.
I feel like there's some sarcasm there. So
it's a really odd thing that they're doing.
Are you aware, or do you keep abreast of what's going on in U.S. Law affairs as well, or is this?
Yes, because but almost everyone who's taught law on the Welsh and English model takes various modules on international law, EU law, US law, and all that to compare and contrast. Because our legal system is quite different from everyone else's, even though everyone's copied ours.
Are you actually in the office? Are you actually in the office right now?
Yeah, because obviously it's late night session, and I literally can't work unless... Hang on.
This feels very... This feels like we're doing something very wrong here. This feels a bit like I'm having another dream. Q has given up. Well, Q should not give up. I mean, we're going to still... I'm going to cover what needs to be covered. I just want to do it after this.
Christ. We have to do security checks every hour after 12 o'clock to make sure no one's fallen asleep and everyone who is in the building is supposed to be there.
So you have to be like, yes, I'm awake, button pressed.
Yep.
Wow. This is actually pretty cool.
The best thing is because all of our work is logged to like the minute, so If we're not being paid, even if we're in the office, we're like off the clock and all that. So
You get logged to the minute?
yes.
Do you have like like Grindstone or something, some kind of app that's like tracking your work as you work?
Yeah, because our time is very expensive.
Yeah. But still, that's wow. I can recall apps like that at a place I'd worked before where we weren't compensated commensurately, and it was just like, what were your Grindstone? It was actually software called Grindstone, and it ran the entire.
That's so American.
Oh
Like-
yeah, yeah.
I
This
don't
was
think
like
anyone. Oh, actually, no. We probably would create an app like that, but people would, just because we're taking the piss, like not
this
actually
was
call
like
it that.
this was something that like the company enforced that we all had to use Grindstone and have Grindstone running on our PCs. And basically, like at the end of the work, at the end of the week, it would transfer all that data to the producers, who would then kind of know exactly how long you worked and what your efficiency ratio is and how many story points you got complete and all this. Oh boy, it was rough. That was the gaming industry for you.
It is because of that, but it's also because we literally charge by the hour, but obviously because an hour is very expensive, we also like keep a record of literally by the minute, by the second, because But I suppose it's to make sure because lawyers are quite valuable, highly educated, and have loads of pretty good unions. Like it's so also we get really well compensated for the work we do, which is quite different from the game industry, I suppose. If we did a 12-hour crunch the night before a case, we'd get double time fees and probably a few days off afterwards.
Yeah, there's no overtime. There was no overtime. We were salaried. Well, by no overtime, I mean there was no overtime pay, right? But as salaried workers, they felt like they could just kind of get us to work as long as they wanted. But hey, let's. So, what are your opinions on this whole Supreme Court rigmarole?
We had a discussion. I had a discussion about this with a few people, a few American. Oh, they're not called barristers, lawyers, whatever you want to call them, and we were basically comparing and contrasting how this came up in the UK and how this came up in the US. Essentially, although it doesn't seem like it, the legal system in the UK and the US is quite similar in that there's the common law and then there's the legislative statutory law, and the government, the states, whatever, they make laws and they create them, and then the justice system, the courts, the judges interpret it, and from that create common law, because obviously law in practice requires judges to analyse it and figure out what it does, and how it actually works in practice and in the real world, which means that legislature doesn't have to waste its time on the same law making it perfect every few months or so, right? It makes a great deal of sense. It means that the law can evolve and change over time. The problem is when the common law supersedes the legislature to such an extent that, in the case of the US, even though the Constitution is like the ultimate law, this is where all rights come from and all sources from, it's very, 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 very hard to amend the Constitution in any meaningful way, and you certainly can't do it quickly. So in practice, what that means is the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. It interprets the Constitution as it now is, which means that basically, even though you do have a legislature and common law like ours, the common law is like the ultimate thing in the US, because until someone amends the Constitution through the legislature, it's basically up to how the Supreme Court through the common law has interpreted it. So in the abortions case, in the UK, abortion rights first came through the common law in the same way that Roe versus Wade and all that. In the 50s, people argued on much the same lines as they did in the US, that women deserve control over their own bodies. People who menstruate, who can be pregnant, they should have bodily autonomy in this way, and the courts agreed. And then after that, because the courts had agreed to that, based off of very old law, Parliament had to get involved. So it was currently on the books that because of the common law interpretation of the law that as it stood, abortion was fine. The legislature then had to go on and say exactly what that meant, in what extent and all that. And that's how we got one law passed 1967 about reproductive rights, and then it was amended and reaffirmed in 1999. So Parliament basically affirmed what the common law said and then added to it, and then the common law descends from that now, and that's how we interpret it. Basically, imagine if Roe versus Wade happened and then they amended the Constitution within 3 months or so.
That would be great. So,
but it wouldn't happen.
Right.
That's the problem. Is that basically how the system's currently set up is that common law is the ultimate authority, completely unelected, not very democratic at all. But because it's impossible to amend the Constitution in any practical sense, and you certainly can't do it quickly, the common law is going to stand possibly for decades, and possibly could be changed again at random by however many judges.
So, so let me ask you, as a parliamentary democracy, is that the correct term?
Constitutional monarchy, parliamentary democracy, or something like that.
Are those effectively the same?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but so for you all, the abortion rights in the UK are essentially codified now. Did I misunderstand what you said? They're essentially codified now in such a way that they couldn't be repealed or couldn't be easily repealed?
Actually, any law in the UK can easily be repealed. You just need a 50% majority in Parliament, which is very easy. Like any government,
because you don't
usually
have,
has a majority.
So wait, why is it called a constitutional monarchy then? Like you all, if you're a parliamentary democracy and all it takes is a simple majority to make changes of that scale. That seems like it'd be chaos. Like, why isn't it more chaotic?
And yet it works. Like, this is what people say when they're worried about removing the filibuster and stuff. It works. Like, having a 50% majority and having the law be very easily changed works. Like, it
seems like
it just does. Like,
but when you have like the Tories come into power or Labour comes into power or whatever, I don't know I forget the names for the equivalents of what Democrats and Republicans.
That is. Oh no, they're not equivalent to Democrats and Republicans. Like the
I know
Tory
you all
party,
are generally
the Tory party. The Tory party is conservative, but it supports the NHS and all that.
Yeah, I know you all are generally more left than the U.S. like as a whole. Like what you all consider the left, we consider the far left, and what you all consider conservative, we consider almost centrist. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I would think that would cause like these huge waves of laws being repealed and then reenacted and repealed and reenacted when different parties came into power.
It's like if they really want it passed, and they have full control of their party, so everyone in their party votes exactly the same way, and they have a majority, then they can get any law through. However, before that point, it does have to stand up to scrutiny in Parliament, go to the House of Lords, survive scrutiny there, come back, and then get passed. So it does have to go through several rounds of debate, scrutiny, and all that sort of thing. But yes, technically speaking and practically speaking, because it does happen all the time, like you couldn't pass any law and repeal any law and change any law. And that system tends to work.
But so has abortion ever come close to being repealed, or the right to get an abortion ever come close to being repealed in the UK?
No, not really, because it was pretty well settled, to be honest. Like it's, it would have to become a political issue, and it isn't really.
Like
pretty much everyone is like, okay, abortions should happen.
What's so
at
strange
a certain point
is, I mean, I feel like the general. The last poll that I saw was something somewhere between 60 and 75% of Americans believe that abortion should be a right. Oh, jeez.
Just checking something. I think it's probably the auto lights. Hang on.
Butterfly composer. Maybe just wave your arms around and the motion sensor will. Butterfly composer is in a legal building of some sort. The lights. It's 2 a.m. The lights went out. The lights are now back on. I'm just saying.
It's the problem with these eco-friendly break rooms.
Yeah, those motion sensor lights.
If you're the only person in, yeah.
Yeah, I actually ran into that problem fairly recently. Staying at a hotel that was at almost no capacity.
5 nights at the law office.
Might you actually sleep under a desk there, or are you actually going to get to go home tonight?
There's rooms you can go and sleep in if you want to.
Wow, really?
Probably won't.
And then you...
I wouldn't want to. I mean, there's people with guns in this building. I don't know.
Wait, you're in the UK. Nobody has guns in the UK. Mm-hmm. Y'all carry knives.
Yeah, that's... People are having a discussion about, for some reason, executions and state murder. Is this because of... Oh, yeah, this is because of France.
The last guillotining in France.
That is something that is somewhat controversial on the Conservative side as to whether we want capital punishment or not. It's kind of like a fringe thing there, but it does at least get talked about. Abortion pretty much never gets talked about. It's like a political dead thing. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you elected in either case. So there's no reason for anyone to bring it up.
This is kind of what I thought in the U.S. too, and as I was mentioning, I've seen polls that have said between 60 and 70% of the population approves of abortion being accessible and legal. Although the last president we had lost the popular vote. George Bush lost the popular vote. So, sorry, I'm getting buzzed. So maybe it shouldn't surprise me, but it does. It's nice that, it seems like in England, perhaps reason prevails. Is there as much sort of blind allegiance to party as there is over here, from what you can tell?
There was a massive upset in the last 3 elections over people switching very firmly to the Tory party, because basically for the last couple of election cycles, Brexit has been the only thing that anyone's ever voted on. So, and the people in charge of the Tory party right now are the firm Brexiteers. So there was quite a big upset between people who usually vote Labour turning blue and people on the edge of it voting Tory quite overwhelmingly. So it's one of the...
That would never happen here. That would never happen. I can't imagine a situation where that could possibly go down. Even with maybe Trump, maybe there was a little bit of that within the Republican Party when we had the rhinos, the Republicans in name only, who were not sort of just fully backing Trump in every ridiculous thing that he did. But it does seem to me here that there is very much a like, look, you're just expected to vote with your party, right? And again, like,
To be fair, it is very, 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 very easy to vote in the UK compared to the US. You don't need to be a member of a party. You just have to be like a local resident, and then you vote in the election. That's it.
that must be nice. I bet you the percentage of people who vote in the UK is much higher than it is here.
I don't know, actually. It's not that high. It's been higher recently because all of our elections have been high stakes because we've been deciding the future of the country. It's been higher than usual in my lifetime because for the last 10 years or so we've had Scottish referendum, Brexit referendum, we've had a lot of referendums on stuff. But generally speaking, elections aren't that much of a big deal, and in fact legally they're not allowed to be a big deal. You're not allowed to spend that much. You're allowed to have one political party message on the major TV channels, and that's it. You have to take all of your election stuff down after a week after the election, and you're allowed to what's it called? I can't remember what it's called because we don't even do it. You're allowed to campaign for about 6 weeks before the election, something like that.
This sounds dangerously authoritarian to me. I don't know how you continue to live in such an oppressive regime. I don't know what else to say. Like, there's a part of me that despairs, and it's a pretty big part of me, and it seems to be growing by the day, and makes me feel like the time for sort of rational discourse is over on this particular issue, right? And it doesn't. It seems like you could not pick, I don't think, like a more polarizing sort of to steal your word, like it's a referendum style issue, right? Where it's so incredibly, like the lines of demarcation are so incredibly clear. And the benefits and like who benefits, actually, who the fuck benefits? Who benefits from banning abortion? Like, do these people, do pro-lifers really believe that they are doing God's work when they want abortion banned? Or no, they don't. Of course, they want to limit the power of women and marginalized people, right? Let's say it's just one stone in this sort of evolving wall of bullshit stones that they're going to build up to take down the rights of people that don't agree with them or who they don't think are important or worthy of having a voice or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And to me, like, I know I said this a bit at the beginning, but it does feel a bit like the left is fighting with one hand sort of tied behind its back because we won't do anything that's unseemly, right? Now, I know a lot of times, like sometimes the UK gets accused of being, and I'm not saying that I agree with this, right? But gets accused of maybe being maybe too polite, like formally sort of not quite saying what they mean, right? Instead of telling someone to fuck up.
Because we literally have rules of engagement, whereas you're not allowed to accuse people of lying and stuff like that, or refer to people with their like actual names. You refer to them by their seat. It's supposed to keep people polite. It tends to make people very sarcastic rather than like outright offensive. There's a whole debate over limiting the language limit like the legislative process. I don't know. If occasionally, like, they will break and like say what they mean, and then they usually get censored or a slap on their wrist and stuff like that.
So it's basically like, you can say that in as sarcastic a voice as you like, but say it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not breaking with tradition, right? But if you call a lord or don't address a lord by their title, is this the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like we refer to people by the member for South Manchester or whatever, rather than their name, or by their title, so the Prime Minister, the Chancellor, stuff like that.
Oh man, I used to. Is questions for the Prime Minister, is that still a thing?
Yeah, every Wednesday.
Watching that, I used to love watching that, and I would watch it and I'd be like, no American president would be able to withstand this kind of a verbal barrage, or very few of them.
Well, the whole point is it's based on the adversarial system. The whole legal system is the legislature sits opposite each other because they're adversaries trying to get the best deal for everyone. You are not friends.
And it's worth calling out here. Excuse me. Sorry for 1 second. It's worth calling out here that the most powerful artificial intelligence networks are generally adversarial intelligence networks. Just a parallel there.
The court system is adversarial. It's two lawyers going at it until one of them breaks. Basically, and we tend to find that more effective than trying to be conciliatory.
It's a boxing match.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that we have two parties or more who genuinely have political philosophies that are different from each other, and the members tend to believe that.
So is there anything that you can say to make people in the chat and myself feel better about the state of affairs over here?
You have the same basic legal system as we do, and reform is possible. Like, the problem is, to some extent, there's almost too many checks and balances to the point where you can't evolve naturally over time. Like, within the past it's 2022 now. Within the past 8 years, we reformed how our legal system works. We've changed it so the House of Lords isn't the highest legal court anymore. It's now the Supreme Court, and we've set it up, and we've basically done the sort of thing that everyone's been talking about with the US.
Are your
model.
Supreme Court justices appointed for life?
No.
Because
they have to retire at 70.
They have to retire at 70.
Mm-hmm.
But
most justices of that rank are probably around at least 60 by the time they actually get appointed.
Huh. So you're talking 8 to 10 years average.
Yeah. Like how it used to be before is that however many law lords there were in the House of Lords came together and did their thing in the House of Lords, and the rest of the lords could weigh in if they wanted to. They usually just left it to the law lords, and now we've got it so we've just taken all the law lords out, gone through them all, picked the ones who are actually, judges as well, and are competent, and are below the age of 70, and put them on the Supreme Court.
And how many make up that body?
I need to check, because we literally do keep changing it quite often, and they make a point of keeping the legislature in check. Like throughout the Brexit process, they were seriously railing on both sides because both sides were breaking the law quite often. UK Supreme Court. It's closed. Yeah, thank you.
Or just a rough number. Like, is it as limited as the US?
There are 12 positions.
Okay.
But
so it's not hugely different than ours, right? But it is.
It's because they have so many cases. Like, they're the final court of appeal for the UK, including Scotland, which has a different legal system, and Northern Ireland, and the entire Commonwealth.
But
and
you all
a
have
few
an
other
even
countries,
number.
and a few countries as well.
You all have an even number of judges then. So do you get
12.
a lot of deadlocks?
Well, I think basically the idea is that all judges don't hear every case because they hear so many. And I think it's usually a panel of 5 or 3 or 7 or 9.
Okay. I got you. Okay.
The whole court doesn't tend to sit because that's kind of like a bit wasteful of their time and everyone else's time. Because their aim is to like be the final court of appeal, so to actually be useful. I don't know how often cases in the US go to the Supreme Court, but they come to the UK Supreme Court quite often, and loads of other countries too as well, of course.
Right. I don't know how many cases are on the docket every season for the Supreme Court. I mean, obviously there's a labyrinthine system before cases get to the Supreme Court, but offhand, I don't know. Derek might know. I don't know if he does. But it sounds like you all might have a bit of the same problem there when it just comes to like who appoints judges to your Supreme Court?
An independent justice tribunal. It's completely separate from the political process.
So it doesn't matter who's in power when it comes to the judges being appointed?
Theoretically, yes. In practice, yes. There's almost no way that you can put pressure on a British judge unless they're after some kind of honour system or title or peerage or whatever, and that's obviously gone way down since the Supreme Court got separated from the House of Lords.
I'm sorry, I just got distracted by chat, which is, yeah.
How is it worse than
chat right now?
Yeah.
I want to ban that word.
Spermy is worse than every sperm is sacred. Oh, because every sperm is sacred. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good argument. If life begins at conception, what about unfertilized eggs, which are basically almost there, right? Presumably.
Yeah. Where do you draw the line, right? Like, we keep pushing it back. Please stop saying the C word, Paul.
But yeah, I feel like I'm fairly comfortable, and most people tend to be comfortable with the common law and Supreme Court and justices and judges making common law decisions and stuff. Because if it is genuinely important, as in people actually care enough about it to talk to Parliament about it, talk to their local MP about it, it will get done in Parliament as well, like within a few months, if it genuinely is important. You know, it's not. There's no case where the justices are going to overrule something that's incredibly important and then nothing happens for decades afterwards.
Right.
And it just piles up and piles up and piles up and piles up, you know. Especially when it comes to a human right, I feel like that really should be sorted and resolved fairly quickly. And I'm not sure how it wasn't. Like,
is it too late for us to come back? Can we call America itself an aborted experiment? And
technically, because our legal system is so old, Parliament doesn't make a distinction between jurisdiction. Its jurisdiction is the entire universe. So if they want to make a law that brings the US back, then it can.
Oh, that's great. That's hubris, but I love it somehow. I'm sure if I lived there, I would have plenty of problems with the UK system, but it certainly it is sounding preferable to the sort of morass we're stuck with at the moment. So,
well, yeah, there is, as you say, there is basically no checks and balances other than a healthy democracy, as to what laws get passed. You know, if the government has a majority, the phrase is that they are an elected dictatorship because they are. Yeah. They can do whatever they want. They can leave the EU. They can come back in. They can go back out again. You know, they can separate church from state.
Doesn't the EU not allow that? Like, doesn't the EU say, like, if you leave, you can't come back for a decade or something? It can't allow people to just pop in and out. That seems...
I don't... It requires, like, the agreement of members to come in and... not to come out, but to come in, yes.
Yeah, if it could stop you from leaving, that'd be a neat trick.
It can't do that. Butterfly isn't singing the sperm song, and I am disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed at all. There's no reason at all to be baited by money. In fact, I would be offended that like the moment someone from the UK is on, you start getting Monty Python references. Y'all did a lot more than that. You also did the Goon Show, and
Yes.
I mean,
Monty Python is just the start of modern British comedy. It's hardly the end. It goes on from there for like pretty much everyone adapts, mocks, or uses Monty Python in various ways, to the point where when I started watching Monty Python, I was like, this
had you already heard
feels
all of it?
this feels dated in a way because everyone has gone through this, like 6 or 7. This is like the first iteration of something that has evolved
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 levels since then.
Yeah, that's a problem with not just it's a problem with like film sometimes, and books to a lesser extent, right? But I've run into that too, where it's like, yeah, this is the inception, but at this point, I've
It's
experienced.
still really interesting because they were so surreal and experimental. Like 95 of their stuff is crap. Like,
Yeah,
so it's not funny and no one copied it. And then you watch it now and it's actually quite funny because it's so odd.
Well, I would challenge anyone to watch the fish slapping dance and not laugh, right?
Mm.
Like, and that's just the most ludicrous thing. There's no clever wordplay in that. It's just Michael Palin slapping John Cleese with 2 fish, and then getting walloped with a giant fish into a river by John Cleese.
British accents are the best. Yes, but which ones? There's so many. Like,
Britain is not a monolith. My
no.
gosh.
I
I can
don't-
do at least 4
there are
British
so
accents
many.
myself.
There are so many. Like,
Can you do other British accents?
plenty. Like, it depends on what you're looking for. It's very hard to do on microphone, though.
Liverpool. Do the
You're right,
Liverpool
mate.
lady. Wait, do that again? Sorry.
You're right, mate. I'm from Liverpool. A Scouser. I'm going to play football.
I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I love it.
It's very strange, like, especially when you're in court with them. One of our most famous and celebrated Lord Justices of the 20th century was from Cornwall and had a thick Cornish accent and sounded like Blackbeard, and it was amazing to
I don't know what a
listen to
Cornish
this.
accent would sound like, though. Like,
Aye, Jim lad. No, basically a pirate accent. You know, talk like a pirate. It's that. Because that's where they're all from.
all pirates are from Cornwall.
Basically, yeah, because an actor decided to do Long John Silver that way in the 40s, and everyone's copied him since. It's like
Or you're checking
Everyone-
out the.
RP is always appealing. So that's received pronunciation, kind of like the Queen. I've also enjoyed the Guy Ritchie type. That's like London, which is really hard to do.
What kind of accent was Brad Pitt doing in that Guy Ritchie movie, where Switch or whatever it was, Snitch, where no one
I
could
don't
understand
know.
what he was doing?
You can't. Oh no! Don't do a Cockney accent. Is that London? So that London, mate. You know London. No one speaks with the. You're all right, mate. Show me all right. That like the cabbie, the Dick Van Dyke accent. That's dead. I think no one's ever done that.
That's the only one I
think
can
that
do.
went out with the chimney sweep.
Yeah, Chimney Sweep is
To be
pretty
fair,
much.
Some taxi drivers still put it on a bit, but it's basically just not done anymore. We need.
It's kind of funny that people might adopt it in some way, just to sort of play up.
Pirate lawyer, yeah, exactly. It's so fun. It's so fun listening to him speak, because he was on the abortion thing. So if you imagine a pirate talking about abortion law in the 70s, it's like, you know, it's so good. It's so good.
Well, Butterfly Composer, I would love to talk all night about accents. But if I don't get to the writing, Stravaganza Q is going to kill me.
Did we get to the key points about the Supreme Court, your issues with it,
Probably
and all
not.
that.
I mean, term limits, expanding the size.
The problem with that is, how do you do that without making it like a political thing that people stand for in elections, and then they'll say whatever they want to get elected, and then it becomes just another political office rather than a legal one? Do you want someone like Donald Trump becoming a Supreme Court judge?
Well, I'm not sure how term limits, how a slightly faster turnover rate would open that particular gateway. I mean, really, like, yes,
but you're introducing them with the argument that it's undemocratic, so we're going to introduce term limits. But you can't just introduce term limits. You also have to, like, well, how are you going to make it democratic? How they're appointed?
Well, no, I'm suggesting they are appointed the same way, but they're just appointed more often, and they have to step down, and maybe even like they could be asked to step down. Like, it just seems ridiculous to me that there's almost nothing that a Supreme Court justice could do to lose their job.
Well, yes, but you can say that about pretty much everyone in the U.S. government. Like, it's almost impossible for a congressman, a senator, the president, or a Supreme Court judge to be thrown out for any reason.
Sure, but
like,
at least they're going to go after X number of years, right? They're not.
Yeah, I suppose. Because well, how do you think that would come across? Like, if the Supreme Court was replaced every 10 years or 15 years or so like every 2 to 3 Congresses, there was a whole new bench.
No, I'm not suggesting like a clean sweep. I'm suggesting like individually term limits. They would be staggered, right? Or they would just kind of be naturally staggered. And of course they would be staggered because if someone dies, right, then you got to replace them even if they were only 2 years in. So I'm not seeing it as like a cycle. Like, here's this, we have the midterms, we have the presidential cycle, and then we also have the Supreme Court cycle. I'm just saying, if there was an 8 or 12 year or 16 year term limit, and at that point you would have to have whoever was president at that time introducing candidates just like they do now. They would have to go the same vetting process. It would just have to happen more often, and not even that much more often, but just a bit. And if there were more,
you just don't want them hanging around for like 30, 40 years and then dying in office when they're like 90 or something like that.
Well, I mean, there's I'm not even really taking into account the idea that like maybe they're not mentally fit. That's not really even what I'm talking about. It's just more like what other, I can't think of another, well, certainly not in America, another position that is for life like that removes accountability, that just has that amount of power. It just seems really, really bizarre and like antithetical to what the idea of democracy, anyway.
Yeah, I'd certainly say that it's probably one of the more, maybe the president is more powerful, like, because there's only one of them, but like because they are literally, because of what we said about the Constitution earlier, they are literally the guardians of like all law basically in the US, because there's no practical way where they're going to be called out on it, or the law that they've done is going to be changed except by them or a new Supreme Court.
And I mean, we've seen like it's especially bad obviously with the court would be talking about domestic policy, but when we're talking about like foreign policy, we've seen like even when Trump was in office, a lot of people were just like, nah, you know what, we're just going to run out the clock on this guy. And sure, we're just going to kind of push all of this stuff 4 years out, and we'll take care of it then, sort of undermining the ability of anyone to get anything done in that office if there's that kind of a time limit. And that's the problem with too short a term limit, right? Like, is you have to have. That's why I guess I'm wondering, like, what is the optimal number of years? It seems like somewhere between 8 and 16 might be good. But maybe it is something like just at this particular age, right? Like, I don't know. I have no idea what the it just seems like we couldn't do worse than until you die. You lose this job until you die. Especially someone pushed through by someone like Trump. Like, I don't know if you saw like the Kavanaugh hearings, but they were kind of a joke. And especially now that it's borne out that he lied. There's no accountability there for him lying during that confirmation hearing, which was, I mean, there are all kinds of accounts of him, accusations of sexual assault, etc. And if any of that were to come to light, what happens? Really, nothing happens. And that might be a reason why it's never going to come to light, is because there would be no consequences.
Yeah, that's the problem. If everything came out, like, you'd be hoping that he would resign, but that's it, pretty much, because impeachment is going to be almost impossible. So,
but then even right, you look at Trump, right? He went through the impeachment process twice.
It makes a mockery of the system, doesn't it?
Yeah,
especially if it's the court itself that's
the
breaking
court
laws and stuff like that.
There is this idea that the court is kind of sort of sitting above even the executive branch and just being like, yeah, that's cute what you're doing there, but we're going to be here long after you're gone.
Yeah, that's literally the point. They stay around for a long time. They, at least practically speaking, have the ultimate power at the end of the day, and there's 9 of them, and they are the guardians of the US.
I'm gonna pop them up real quick over you, if you.
Yeah.
Here, wait up. I'll put them.
These 9 people are basically the most powerful people in the country. Like,
look at Stephen Breyer. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Kavanaugh seems to me like the worst offender, but that's just because I have a thing about him. So yeah, I don't know if we covered everything, but if I don't stop now, I'm not going to be able to get to the writing extravaganza, and I will be I'll be excoriated by Q.
The Q coop. Oh yes, very funny. The coop. Yes.
The coop. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
instead of January 6th, it'll be May 5th. Yeah.
Oh, is this
that's dark. They
yeah,
have names and addresses.
This is an interesting point too. 5 of the current serving justices were appointed by presidents that didn't win the popular vote. And there's another problem, right? We want to get into like the electoral college. It's another problem. But I gotta go.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be up all night. I'm taking it, but I got to be in bed by 10:30.
What time is it there for you?
9:43.
Oh, okay.
But thank you very much, Butterfuck, for taking time out of. I don't know if it's taking time out of your job or kind of. You're in the building, but you're not on the clock. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get back on the clock. And we'll talk. Don't let it go another year. Come back.
Probably won't be now. Like, so long as if I'm in the building and it's like late at night, then I can obviously take the stream. If I'm asleep because we burnt all night, then
That works. All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Butterfly Composer.
Yes.
We'll talk soon.
I'll probably be talking when they pass that decision. God.
Oh, when you're talking about what's going on there right now?
When they pass that decision, which will be in a couple of months.
Oh, right. Yes. I would love that. That'd be great.
Unless something even crazier happens, legally speaking, between then and now. Who knows?
It'd be nice. I guess counting on it might be not a good idea.
The problem is that the one thing that I can think of, legally speaking, that'd be worse than that is Biden dying in office, but which could happen.
How would that change anything?
Because the how do
just
you
be
call
Kamala
it?
Harris would be president, and
the succession role and the line of succession is so strange in the US, and it's also defined by the Supreme Court. So,
but I guess what I'm saying is Biden could die between now and July.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris would be president, and there would still be the law would still pass, right? Like,
Yeah.
And the irony of that, if that happens, would be even more than Biden, who has actually in the past, although this was a long time ago, he's on record as saying that a woman's autonomy should not be 100%. But that was 40 years ago, and I do think people can change. And I'm not an apologist for Biden in any way. I think he's pretty ineffectual. But
God, imagine that you get your first female president by default, by technicality, because you could never possibly vote one in, at the same time that you get rid of bodily autonomy.
That's the that is the irony I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But
it's like having your first mixed race president, and then immediately afterwards hiring an explicit racist. Like, you know,
I don't like that. I don't like that you said that. Because it hits very close. That really is very much how it felt.
Oh God!
It's like
we've democratically elected 2 female prime ministers multiple times. 2. They won successive elections.
You want to brag about Margaret Thatcher, though? Is that something you want?
God, we had a female prime minister in the 80s. Imagine that. Like.
Yeah, right. Margaret Thatcher. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't really want to brag about Margaret Thatcher.
Okay, I gotta let you go, or I'm gonna fall asleep on the phone.
America, what a wonder. Correct. World's extremely interesting.
Yeah. Stay in chat. But I'm going to the writing extravagant stuff. But thank you very much for calling in, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Yep. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Yeah, my apologies. I'm just getting tired. I get tired nowadays because I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be 50 in fucking 5 months. Now I've just made myself depressed. Like I forgot about it somehow. Oh, look, even with perspective, my arm still looks like it gets thinner as it gets towards my wrist. That's sad. Yeah, that was great. Derek and Butterfly, those were great conversations. Man, I kind of feel like I need to start this thing sooner or earlier because I get tired. No, I'm not already 50. Gonna be 50. So the writing extravaganza. Q was kind enough to write up a Google Doc. I'm thinking around the time of the Supreme Court ruling being actually officially released. So I'm thinking a time frame of giving between 60 and 90 days for it. I was also thinking 1,500 to 3,000 words, so lowering the word counts. And I think we've talked about like what the other rules were going to be. I think I need to just kind of write them up and then plop them on the community channel after I talk to Q about it. Really, the only question is genre, and I think just a more open genre than what we had last year. So, but still no erotica. Like I just don't want erotica. Yeah, we're doing well. I mean, it's not compulsory. Much like leaving the EU, you can choose to do it or not. When, how long, and where to send it? Well, as I said, Q came up with a pretty awesome Google form that covered a lot of the holes and a lot of the problems that were present in last year's. So it was basically like making sure that there was a place to send the money, right, if you win. covering if you're okay with the story being read, etc. Yes, right. Yes, Q. Right. That's right. It's good that you got that because I forgot no fan fiction. I'm not comfortable reading any of that. No. I mean, you can write whatever you want, but it won't go in the competition. I mean, look, erotica, I mean erotica as a genre. I mean, if you write a story and there happens to be something in it that is like, that happens to be erotic, man, I'm reluctant to even say that because I know how y'all are. I'd rather not. Fan fiction is right. I don't want people writing about me. And I don't think that would generally be a problem. But just in case. Word count, Grace, 1,500 to 3,000 words. Which is a little bit shorter than last. Ava, what? Wait, tried what? Tried what? No. That's a no as well. Right, yeah. So I guess that would fall under fan fiction. Yes. Because I can't do anything with that, right? I don't really want to... Man. Nah, I don't want to read a whole bunch of Star Wars fiction. I just don't want to do it. Q, I would like to use your Google form. That's what I'd like to do, if possible. If that's okay. I'm not horny so much as just like doing things deliberately to try and get under my skin. Yeah, I wish I had. I'm sorry, I don't have more details about that now. We went a little long here. So I would think what to expect would be, I will talk to Q, and we'll get a Google form sent out, basically shared with anyone who wants to participate. We have to get a way for people to participate apart from just the Discord. So if you are interested, how about this? Like, if you are interested with the way things are now, and this is not going to be the only way, but this is just to try and capture as many people as possible, then go ahead and email me that you're interested in entering, and we'll figure out a way to make sure that everybody who wants to enter, and then I'm going to go ahead and make an announcement on social media and through the community tab here. Timeline would be probably the end of, let's say sometime in August. So, I mean, it's already May, right? So if we have a deadline of maybe like the end of July, and then do something, sort of in August. But exactly the date, I don't know yet. Ooh, see, I like this. Have I been digitally de-aged? I dig it. Watch how much older I get when I turn up this LUT. Like, it really brings out all the... Look at that. Brings out that's not actually how I look. Why am I doing this to myself? It's more like that. But this LUT, like, what it does is it increases the contrast between the skin tones. So, you might have a pixel here and a pixel here that in real life are maybe 3 shades apart, and it will increase that contrast to be 6 shades apart, which I think it looks pretty cool. Like, I like that. But it definitely does make my skin look like... Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about this. It's because it's late and I'm tired. My skin is definitely not perfect, but thank you, Colorful. So, yeah, send me an email if you're interested, and I will send out the official announcement sometime in the next couple of days. And we'll touch on it again next week and probably before then. And then I will iron out the details of the Google Doc with Q. So maybe not as formal as we were hoping, but we're moving. The ball's moving. Ball's moving, right? Ball's moving. Whoops, why am I not hearing my... Yay, the ball's moving. Oh, the ball's not moving. Oh, the ball is moving. All right. Thank you all for hanging around this late. This one went long, and I'm tired. But I will see you all next week, if not sooner. Oh, interesting. Butterfly. That's right. You are the one who did the monster manual that, yeah, there was... Butterflies was very... It would have worked for a video. But I think the problem is, like, I reconsidered that because what I want to do... Like, I would have just had to take it away from you, Butterfly, and just been like, I don't want to get in a situation where it's like, I'm like saying, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do that? Like, I would just want to kind of go for it. And, you know, it might not be exactly what you would want, you know. But I really like that story. So if you'd be comfortable... Okay, well, no, then you should do it, Butterfly Composer. You should do it. I really liked it, and would do it, but I might not do it in the way that you wanted me to. So you should probably go ahead and do it. All right, we can talk about that more. And I will see you all soon, or talk to you all soon, and I hope you all sleep well. And, yeah, good night.